Hi everyone, so today I would like to explain about a chapter from the Practice of English Language Teaching book by Jeremy Harmer entitled Feedback, Mistakes, and Correction. So let's get started. So the best kind of teacher follow-up may be those responses which are reaction to the content of what the students have said and which perhaps move the conversation forward. For example, we can show our students that we have listened with interest to their words by repeating what they have said, and then by commenting or by asking follow-up questions. Perhaps we can reformulate what they have said to show or check that we have understood them, or we can ask them for clarification. These follow-up moves all reinforce the dialogue between teacher and students, but asking for clarification goes further because it forces the students to think more carefully about what they are saying. So this is the example of how the teacher give the follow-up and feedback to the student. And students make mistakes. There are two distinct sources for the errors which most, if not all, students experience. The first is L1 interference. L1 is the native language. Many students who learn English as a second language already have a deep knowledge of at least one other language. Where that L1 and the variety of English they are learning come into contact with each other, there are often a confusion which provoke errors in a learner's use of English. And then developmental errors. For a long time now, researchers in child language development have been aware of the phenomenon of overgeneralization. This is best described as a situation where a child who has stayed by saying Teddy went. You can look into here, Teddy went into Teddy goat and they came into the count. And then corrections decision. Among the many incorrect language features that students can produce are, for example, grammar mistakes. For example, he go to work every day, and pronunciation mistakes, and then vocabulary mistakes, register mistakes, or any combination of this. When students make more than one mistake, we have to decide which test we want to focus on. A solution when to correct the students are working on errors after the activity has finished and offer gentle correction during fluency work. What this means is what we may help the students to understand what is going wrong or prompt them to say something better. But we will not treat this as an opportunity for accuracy work. And then who corrects and who should be corrected? Students can also be corrected by their peers if and when they are unable to correct themselves. What to do about correction? Giving feedback and correcting students is not a simple matter. The variables we have discussed make it highly sophisticated and personal issue. That is why it is so important for us to be constantly aware of how effective our correction techniques are and how they are received by our students. And then correcting spoken English. The first is on-the-spot or online correction. On-the-spot correction is generally more suited to speaking activities where the focus is on accuracy. First, we indicate that something isn't quite right. This may be enough to make the students think again and self-correct. Such self-correction often has a greater effect on uptake than teacher correction. We can show incorrectness in a variety of ways. For example, we can say again when a student makes a mistake and accompany this with a quizzical facial expression. If we decided not to intervene with correction during communicative and fluency activities, so we may still prompt and participate, then we will have to do it afterwards. One of the problems of giving feedback after the event is that it's easy to forget that students have said. Most teachers therefore write down points they want to refer to later. Some teachers make notes and write down what they hear. Others go further and use charts or other forms of categorization to help them do this. As you can see in the figure 2 is a chart for recording student mistakes. And then giving feedback for writing. Many of the issues that we have discussed when talking about giving feedback on students speaking apply to their written work too. So there is perhaps less of a conscious about the best way to go about. First, giving feedback is process writing. Heidi McCarroll and Jeffrey Beam suggest that we should focus on the students' writers' content in their early draft, demonstrating our enthusiasm and curiosity for what they are writing, because by doing this, the teachers strengthen the writer's resolve to plunge back into the tangle of disparate ideas in search of a consistent thread. One of the most popular ways of correcting written work is the use of correction codes to indicate that the students have made mistakes. These codes can be written into the body of the type itself or in the margin. Different teachers use different symbols. And then here the figure shows some of the more common ones. And then giving feedback for writing. Students, however, can self-correct, and this is extremely powerful. We can encourage our students to self-monitor by getting them to write a checklist of things to look out for when they evaluate their own work during the drafting process. Isley suggests that teachers and students together should decide on the criteria that should be used for writing correction. We can also suggest that students give feedback to each other. Such peer reviews has an extremely positive effect on class cohesion. It encourages students to monitor each other and as a result, helps them to become better at self-monitoring. And then burning the midnight oil. Why burn the midnight oil? As I see Lee in an article which discussed the stress of written feedback for students and teacher. For students, the sight of their work covered in correction can cause great anxiety. For teachers, marking and correcting take up an enormous amount of time. There are a number of ways of improving the situation. The first, selective marking. We do not always need to mark everything. If we do, it takes a great deal of time and can be extremely demotivating. And then don't mark all the papers. Teacher may decide only to mark some of the scripts they are given as a sample of what the class has done as a whole. And then involve the students. Teachers can correct some of the scripts and students can look at some of others. Okay, so that's all about chapter 8. Thank you and see you.